As you may already know, Laravel is PHP framework which follow MVC, Model View Control Architecture pattern. And we went over the view and the model parts in the previous couple of lessons. Now, in this lesson, we're gonna learn another part of MVC, which is controller. In theory, controller is responsible for controlling the execution flow of the application. It acts as a directing traffic between views and models. The controller receives an input from the users and makes calls to model and the view to perform appropriate actions. Although in practice we can control the execution flow in our routes as we've done so far, but that way could be okay if our code only contains a simple logic. As our application grows, the logic could become more complex and our code become larger and larger, and using that way is not a good idea. That's why it's better to put our code into controller. This will make your code better organized and easy to maintain. Now, in Laravel, controllers are placed inside app http controllers folder. To create a new controller, instead of manually create the file, we're gonna be using artisan command. So let's go ahead and open up our terminal. And to create a controller, we can say php artisan make controller. Then here, the controller we are gonna make is product controller. Hit enter. Alright, let's open the product controller file. And then, inside the class, let's firstly define a method where we place a logic for returning all products. Although you can name your method with any name you like, but it's better practice to follow the convention. Since we're gonna show a collection of resources, we'll name it as index. Back to our root. Then in this product's root definition, let's cut these lines. Then replace this cluster with a string. The string will contain the action path or control name along with the method name, separated with @ symbol. In this case, product controller @index. Now, if we save this and inspect our roots in our terminal, as you can see, now the action for the products is to refer to product controller path along with index method. Alright, let's go back to product controller. Then inside this method, just paste the code. Don't forget to import the model namespace. Also this one. Let's give this a save. Back to the browser. And access products. Okay, it's still working as it was. Alright, back to our roots. And here, for the show product root, let's cut everything inside the cluster. Replace the cluster with a string, and it's gonna be product controller show method. Switch to product controller. Then define the show method. Define an argument, product. Don't forget to type in to product model. And then here, just paste the previous code. Let's give it a save. Then visit products 1. Okay, it's still working as before. Alright, so now we have two methods defined in our controller. Index for returning a JSON resource of products collection, while show method for returning JSON response for a product. Let's add a few more methods so that we will have a full set of card functionalities in our API. Let's firstly define a brand new route. We'll have the same URI as this route, so let's duplicate this, change the method to post, and the action will be product controller store method. Next, let's go back to product controller, then define the store method. For now, we'll skip the validation, and we'll add that in the upcoming lesson. If you remember, you can capture the request instance using request helper. We can then add only, then specify a certain parameters, or except to exclude a certain parameters from the request. In fact, we can also use all method without specify any parameters to get all parameters in the request instance. Let's assign this into a variable data. After that, we'll insert a new product by saying product ::create, then pass in the data. Now the reason why we use all instead of only or except method is because in product model, we have defined the allowed attributes in this available property. If we use guarded and set it with empty array like this, then in here you need to use only and specify the parameters. Now, since the create method will return the model instance, so let's also assign to another variable product. After that, we transform it into JSON response. Let's give this a save, and let's test it. Now, we cannot use a browser to test this. Instead, we're gonna use Postman. Let's open it. Let's create a new request. The method is gonna be post, and the URL is gonna be basicapp.taste/products. Let's go to body, choose the raw option, and change the content type to JSON. In here, let's specify the request body. Name, test product, price 900, category ID 2. Let's hit the send button. Oops, we get error. We got page expired error. Well, this is because we defined our route in WebPHP and it's not ideal for API routes. Because when we send a post, put, patch, or delete request to a route that defined in WebPHP, we need to always send a zero-step token. If we miss the token, Laravel will reject our request and will get back this error. We'll move our entire routes into API.php later on, but for now, we'll keep them in here. The simple workaround to fix that error is by opening app http kernel, then go to middleware groups, Here, for web group, it needs verify CSR token. If we now comment this line out, save, back to Postman, then hit send button again. Now it's work. Let me verify in SQL Pro. Okay, here's the product that created from Postman. Alright, let's add another functionality in our API for updating product. Back to our roots. We'll have the same URI as this root definition, so let's duplicate this. Change the method to put, then change the action to product controller update method. Back to product controller, then define the update method. Actually, let's duplicate this method declaration. Then change to update. This method will receive an argument and will type into product. To update the product, we can replace this with product update data, like so. Alright, let's give this a save. Back to Postman, duplicate this request, change the method to put, change the URL to products 21. Also for body, I'll change this to product test product updated and price to 1000. Now if we hit send button, here we get back the updated product. Let me verify in SQL Pro. Refresh. Okay, great. Alright, let's add a let functionality in our API. Back to our root. Duplicate this root. Change the method to delete. Then change the action to product controller destroy. Back to product controller. Define a new method. Destroy product. Inside the method, we simply remove the product and then return a content response. Let's keep this safe. Back to Postman, duplicate this request, change the method to delete. The URL is still the same. In body, we can choose the none option. Now let's hit the send button. Here we get the content status. Let me verify in my database. Okay, the product is completely removed. Okay, that's it for now. In this lesson, we've learned about the controller and we've seen how to organize our code into a controller. This makes our routes more clean and improve maintainability of our app. Let's move on to the next lesson and see how to validate our data to ensure that product or any data that's stored in our database is valid.